The Battlescar is a lightweight frame pulse rifle that is returning to the game after a long while. It was in Season 4 when it was first introduced, but now it's back with a completely new perk pool, which means completely new god rolls, so let's go ahead and figure out what those might be. So as you can see here, this is the roll I was just showing you. It gets around 32.6 meters of range, not bad, and it felt pretty solid. I will say kinetic tremors here, not useful at all in PvP. We'll go over that a little more once we get into these rolls, but just so you have some sort of frame of reference for what we're going to be using in the gameplay today, this is the roll we're using, around 32 meters of range, and pretty solid. Now right here is what I would consider to be a god roll. You can see much better range, much better stability on this thing. 34 meters of range, but actually it has a little more of that, and we'll talk about that right now. So for your barrel choice, I would recommend small bore just to get a good boost to your stability, and your range, you can go for something such as fluted if you want like a bunch of stability and handling, but I think you lose too much range for that. You can go extended, of course, if you want a bunch of range to help with the recoil a bit. Something like corkscrew is always fine. There's a lot of good choices here, but personally I recommend small bore. Accurize is what I would go over here. In your mag column, of course, there's a lot of not completely useful stuff here, but Accurize is going to be your best choice because we don't have ricochet, so Accurize is pretty solid. Now in this column we have a few good choices and really only a few. So first of all, Keep Away is what I would recommend just right off the bat. I'm going to tell you that. Keep Away is a brand new trait that we just got this season, and it says it increases the reload, range, and accuracy when no combatants are in close proximity. Up until now I didn't know the exact numbers on that, but it looks like people have finally figured it out, and now it's actually being factored in right here. So it says if no enemies are within 15 meters, that gives you 10 range, 30 reload speed, and minus 10% accuracy cone size, which is some pretty good stuff right there. You can see that would boost us up to around 65 range. It's actually not calculating that on the site right now. You can see even if I change our range stat, it's not going to change there down there in the bottom left because they haven't actually put it into the site yet, but it is actually telling us what it does now. So for reference, we'd probably get around 36 meters of range with Keep Away on, and I'll tell you, I definitely felt that in the gameplay. Now Shoot to Loot here, shooting an ammo brick is going to pick it up automatically and reload your weapons. Cool in PvE maybe, but for PvP, which is what I'm talking about here, not really what we want to go for. Perfect Float is a great choice that's going to be being in combat for a moderate time, will increase your airborne effectiveness, but most importantly it reduces the flinch until you are out of combat. You'll need to be in combat for a few seconds and you can get this to proc. The anti-flinch right there is a pretty nice thing, so if you do want to go Perfect Float over Keep Away, it is a solid choice. That's up to personal preference. Down here we have Shot Swap, Final Blows, Build Up, and Store Charges. That just lets you swip around to your weapons faster, and it's not really something I would recommend in the slightest. Encore here, Final Blows grant a stacking stability, range, and accuracy bonus to this weapon. Precision Final Blows grant more stacks. So you can see each stack is going to give you 5 range, 8 stability, and a better accuracy cone size there, and you'll get 2 stacks for precision kills. So, you know, you could stack up some extra range and stability pretty fast, but the thing is, let's see, this gives you 10 stability, right? Or excuse me, 16 stability, 10 range if you get a precision kill. But you can just use Keep Away and get that 10 range without ever having to get a kill anyways, so that's why I'd recommend Keep Away over Encore. Sure, you could get more stability from this, but I just don't think it's worth it. Last but not least, Perpetual Motion here, which is a darn good choice in my opinion. This weapon gains bonus stability, handling, and reload speed while the wielder is in motion. This is one of my favorite perks in the game, to be honest, and it says all you do is move around. You get 10 stability, handling, and reload speed per stack. That can stack twice, so you could get 20 stability, 20 handling, and 20 reload speed from this thing, which is pretty effective in my opinion. So if you do want to go Perpetual, I think it's a good choice, but overall in this column, I think Keep Away is going to be your best choice. Now, I said I would talk about kinetic tremors here, and I'm going to do that just a little bit. So I actually did use this perk in PvE when I was running some of the Season of the Defiant seasonal events, and it's actually pretty useful in PvE. If you get a roll of this gun, or any gun that has kinetic tremors on it, then go ahead and keep it, try it out in PvE, because it actually does really good ad clear, and on top of that, it can help kill bigger enemies faster, because it's just that little bit of extra damage ticking over time, and it's pretty solid to be honest. In PvP though, I never saw it proc a single time. It says it does 20 damage, but if you're hitting enough shots with your headshots, you know, you can 3-verse people with this gun, you're not gonna ever proc this thing. Like, it just doesn't proc because you can't hit enough shots on somebody because they're not even tanky enough. Maybe if you saw somebody in a Well of Radiance, you could get some use out of this. But besides that, yeah, I really would not recommend this perk in the slightest for a PvP god roll. Headseeker here is something a lot of people like. You do some body shots, and then the headshots will do more damage. Pretty simple stuff. I do not recommend Headseeker in the slightest. Why? Well, if you're getting those headshots, then you're never gonna need Headseeker, right? And that's what you should be aiming for. I know easier said than done, but you should always be aiming to get as many headshots as possible, those 3 bursts if you can, and Headseeker is really not gonna make the TTK good enough, in my opinion. Even if you're hitting a lot of body then 2 head, you're probably just going to lose the gunfight even if you have Headseeker. So you're better off having something like Eye of the Storm or multi-kill clip here so that you can actually make use of those instead of having Headseeker, which maybe you get to use of every now and again, but for the most part, you're just going to lose the gunfight without Headseeker ever being enough to help you win it. Now after that we have Eye of the Storm. This is a pretty good choice. The weapon becomes more accurate and boosts handling as your health gets lower, so you get beat up, you get more handling and whatnot. That can help you really just win the gunfights as you get lower health, and it can be pretty solid. I like this more on something like a 140 hand cannon, but if you wanted to go it on this gun, then it could be a fine choice. This is what I would recommend more than anything in this column, multi-kill clip. Take someone out, and then when you reload, you're going to get 17% extra damage for about 4 seconds there, or 5 seconds, excuse me, which is obviously very solid. You can just smack the next guy up, and if you could proc kill clip again, you could just keep going with this. Obviously, kill perks reign supreme, and they are the king. In my opinion, that's what I usually go for, just because I'm somebody who likes to chain kills a lot and go on long sprees. So that's why I would recommend multi-kill clip here in this column. Osmosis you could do some fun builds with, especially some PvE stuff if you wanted to, but in PvP it would not be my choice in the slightest, although with the new mod system you probably could do some fun stuff with this. So like I said, you can do fun builds with this, but it's not what you want as your premier pick here. Last but not least, in this column, we do have high impact reserves. This is better for something like a fusion rifle. You're not going to be getting to the end of the mag on this gun a lot, especially when you have something like multi-kill clip. You know, you're getting that first kill, then you're reloading, and then you're re-engaging. If you're ever getting to the point where you're using high impact reserves, then you've already died, most likely. You know what I mean? Because if you ever got to that bottom of that cliff like that, then somebody else either sucks as much nut as your mother on a Tuesday night, or they've already killed you. So you're not really ever going to get too much use out of high impact reserves here, because you got to get below 50% of the mag, and you're going to kill somebody with the top half of the mag anyways for the most part, so it's just not very useful. So multi-kill clip, keep away, accurized rounds, and small bore is my recommendation for a god roll on this thing. If you do want to hear about field tested here, it says defeating targets or dealing damage with this weapon gradually increases range, stability, handling, and reload speed. All of those things absolutely amazing. The great thing about this perk, if you keep reading, is that it doesn't wear off. It doesn't have a timer on it. You do a little bit of damage or you take one person out, and you're usually going to have field tested proc times 1. Once you have that, you're already getting 10 range, 10 stability, 10 handling, and 10 reload speed. Those are still up for debate, I suppose. People haven't completely figured that out. That's why there's the question marks there after the numbers. But I have noticed this perk coming in handy all the time, and I can tell you Origin trait here of field tested has become one of my new favorites. I think it's super effective in PvE and PvP, and I highly recommend that you just pay attention to this. Once you start getting it procced, see how your range bumps up, see how you're not getting flinched as much, see how the handling feels better, your reload speed feels better, because you really do notice it when this starts proccing, especially if you can get like 2 times stack on this field tested. It's very effective. I will notice down here that I do have a range masterwork and a counterbalance stock as well, because this thing does not have the best recoil direction at a recoil direction of a nice 69 right there when you do have on the counterbalance, but without that you're going to fall down to something like a 54, and that's not quite the best in the book in my opinion. But yeah, this is the god roll in my opinion, so do with that as you may. Tell me your opinions. If you do disagree with me in the slightest, that's completely fine. Always remember that when it comes to god rolls, I'm just giving you my opinion. Everybody has different opinions and different ways they like to play this game, so there's not ever going to be one singular roll of a gun that we can all sit here and say, yes, that is the god roll. Because little Jimmy Two Shoes is going to walk around the corner and say, actually, I like Headseeker more. Actually, I'm a freak of nature and I like Shot Swap more. And guess what? If little Jimmy Two Shoes says that that is his god roll, then that is something we have to respect. So this is my god roll, but if yours is different, that's completely fine. I'm just telling you my opinion. All that being said, I think we are ready to go ahead and throw it into this gameplay, so why don't we go ahead and do that. And join the Blink Enthusiast clan. It's at 90 members right now, and it's free to join. Just go to Destiny 2 mobile app or Bungie.net, and you can join for free. Love to see you in there. All right, enjoy the video. One important thing to note about this gun is that it is a lightweight frame pulse rifle, which is the build that I ended up going for here. Sure, I have a Matador shotgun on right now, but later on I actually put on a Retro Futurist shotgun, which is a lightweight frame shotgun, because some of my favorite builds in this entire game are lightweight frame builds. When you take 2 lightweight frame weapons and you put them together, that means you're always going to get that plus 20 to your mobility stat and a 6.25% sprint speed bonus whenever you have that weapon equipped. Of course, if you have 2 of those weapons, then you'll always have those bonuses. It's quite effective in some of my favorite ways to play the game, so that's what I ended up going here after a little while, and I had a lot of fun with it. This is not about lightweight frame shotguns, but they are feeling pretty good right now. Now, this pulse itself is pretty nice. There's a few other frames that have come out that are exactly like this gun, such as the Jurassic Green that usually comes out with the Halloween event. And the Jurassic Green is something that I was never that big of a fan of, but I like this a lot more, and I contribute that to the perk pool, which is much better than the Jurassic Greens. That guy bagged me first, by the way, that's why I bagged his little stinky boy butt. But yeah, the Jurassic Green just never really had the greatest pool of perks, in my opinion, but this gun has quite a bit of good stuff. Keep Away is something that has been on almost every new gun from what I've seen, and I'm really glad about it because it's an awesome perk. It's cool that we actually have the exact values for it now. Whoever figured that out, thanks a lot, because it really helps. You can see on the left side of the screen, now my Keep Away is off, but as soon as we kill that guy, boom, it's back on. And it's, you know, in conjunction with Field Test right there. So what do we have, like 20 extra range or something from both those being active at once? And that's pretty darn awesome when you think about it. You're getting so much extra range from those two things together, not to mention stability, reload speed, all this stuff mixed together. And I love when there's passive things on a gun, but you also have something like multi-kill clip that you can get off of your kills. Now, I wish I had that. Obviously, I don't quite yet. If I get that god roll, I'm definitely going to try it, and I'll make a video on that. So subscribe if you're interested in seeing that, as well as leaving a like on this video if you'd like, because I'd really appreciate that. But that being said, I like having one always on perk, right? Something like Keep Away that is always on. Something like Surplus. Perpetual Motion, which is almost always on, of course, unless you stop moving for a second, but of course it goes right back on once you start moving those little feetsies again. I prefer always having one perk like that, and then one perk that procs off of something else. So usually a kill perk, you know, whether it's Rampage, Swashbuckler, Kill Clip, Multi-Kill Clip, something like that, that procs off of a kill is usually what I like to do for my second perk, because when you can get those in conjunction, that means you always have something to help you out a little bit at all times when you're using your weapon, and you have something that helps you out sometimes when you're using your weapon. And usually the first perk is going to help you get the second perk more often. You can see there I have the lightweight frame shotgun on. I was tearing booties up with it pretty good, if I can say so myself. Now, I do like the feel of this thing quite a bit. I will say with the lacking stability it has sometimes, you get flinched quite a bit at certain points. You can see there, you can bring your aim on point pretty well and take people out like that, but it can get flinched quite a bit. For some reason, Bungie just had an absolute hard-on when it came to doing red dot sights this season. I truly don't know what it is, but trust me, go look at some of the other God Roll review weapons that I've done this season. You look at Perpetualis, right? You look at the new SMG, the Syncratic, whatever the heck it's called. You look at the new Pulse Rifle, you know, Philotactic Spiral. It did some really weird names and long names for guns this season, so I'm having trouble remembering them all right now, but my point is every single one of those guns has a red dot as its sight. I don't quite know why they wanted to do it so much. I guess they wanted consistency, so they said, okay, if one of these guns is going to have red dot, then the rest should have it too, right? Which I suppose makes sense, but then it's like, this is a reprised weapon, and it also has a red dot, and a lot of the weapons they reprised have red dot sights. So I'm kind of like, why did you guys reprise a bunch of weapons that have red dot sights at the same time as making a bunch of new weapons that have red dot sights? Because while I do enjoy red dots, I enjoy a chunkier, sort of a more square red dot, whereas this is a very skinny and very shakeable red dot sight. It moves a lot. When you move your reticle around, it doesn't follow as quickly as something like the Peace of Mind red dot sight does. And that's one of the biggest things that I noticed, and one of the biggest annoyances that I have with the gun itself. So you can see here how I'm killing this guy, right? And this is kind of what I want to mention with Headseeker, how we were talking about. Sometimes you're not going to hit full heads, but you should be hitting heads enough with this pulse that your Headseeker is never really going to come in handy, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where I was saying how Headseeker's a little useless. You can see here, look at all those crits. I hit a few body shots, sure, but even on that second guy, if I had Headseeker there, he didn't die, and he also walked away with probably more health than I left him with, and I just followed up with a nice Nova Warp anyways. Almost fall off the map, but with some nice movement, I'm able to get myself back on the sledge and take this third guy out. But that's kind of what I'm saying with Headseeker, and then I ran out of bullets because I didn't get to reload before I supered back there, but that's my point, is you're never really going to get too much use out of Headseeker, in my opinion, which is why I personally recommend that you do not run it over something like multi-kill clip. But, you know, again, that's personal opinion. So that's what I was trying to say earlier, because I've had some annoying comments in the past few days when I've been doing other God Roll reviews. People are like, boy, you are sleeping on Headseeker. And I'm like, my boy, maybe you should improve your aim. And yeah, that guy I mean, he was stupid. He was a dumb man, but that's not the point right now. The point is just, you know, if you do like Headseeker, completely fine, but you should be looking to do your shots like I did right there on that guy and hopefully hit them quite a bit. I was shaking my hitbox a little bit there so I could actually not get hit by the bullets of the guys chasing me, flying into this site here. Careful with this spot right here. It's a very good spot that you can use if you want to wait above that doorway and crouch on there and, you know, get yourself off radar. You can smack people pretty easily, so I wanted to show you guys that spot because it's one of my favorite little sneaky blink spots you can use. But you can jump up there too with any kind of warlock float or hunter jump if that's something you're interested in. So you can see it's pretty good for laning at a distance like this. This is my last clip, so I will let that play out. As I say to you guys, if you would like to leave me a like or subscribe, I would very much appreciate that, and especially share this video to your friends. I'm sure they'd like to see the god roll for this gun too. So if you think that they are interested in this gun and that they should be interested in this gun, because honestly it's pretty good and I think they should, go ahead, send this video their way. I'd really appreciate that, and it really helps out the channel. That is it for me today though, so as always, have a great day, Guardians.